Right, so this was what Johan was speaking on now. So, is it possible to go to your school and ask for your, the classroom teaching about sexuality or life orientation to follow a different learning program or textbook and so on? So we know that is possible. I want to touch on three things. The one is CSE, the CSE that's promoted by the international community, UNESCO, and that has formed the basis of government's scripted lesson plans on sexuality education, whether that is effective in achieving the goals that it sets for itself. So this is what this short video is about. So whether CSE and the specific content that comes through the UNESCO International Technical Guidance is actually effective at achieving the impact that it hopes to achieve, that is an open question. And if we look at the most recent research done on the impact of these materials when they are presented within a curricular context within schools, especially on the African content, then the reading is not really good. So looking at the specific of the most recent research, we see that, for example, there is almost no evidence that school-based CSE is effective at reducing teenage pregnancy or the contracting of STDs. There is almost no evidence that school-based CSE increases consistent condom use. There is almost no evidence of school-based CSE significantly increasing teen abstinence. And there is no evidence of school-based CSE producing dual benefit within the same program. In other words, a sustained increase in abstinence and condom use have not been found to exist together in a single study. And then on the other hand, it is also alarming that in 24% of the cases, in other words, roughly in 1 in 4 cases where the material has been presented in a school-based environment, it actually results in negative impacts. So we see, for example, that there is an increase in sexual initiation. STD rates go up. There is a reduction in the consistent use of condoms and contraception, and it actually leads to a higher rate of teenage pregnancies. And this is really concerning, because if we look at the policy reason for implementing these programs and the specific content, it seems to be lacking, which then obviously raises the question, what would be the reason for implementing if it is not effective? And all of these research outcomes and reports can be found on the hyperlinks that we will share on the page, and it's also available in video format, so we will also flight that website so that viewers can engage with the material directly. The scripted lesson plans developed by government, whether it's compulsory, and the answer at this stage is a resounding no. Spoke to Michael Swain earlier of Freedom of Religion South Africa. He's in the audience today, about where we started with this back in, I think, late 2018, maybe early 2019. Where the message from the Department of Basic Education was, no, this is compulsory. It will be mandatory for classroom teaching. And then as the social pressure and everything mounted, they were forced to come to a point where they acknowledged that in South Africa that is not the case. Government cannot determine what is the learning content that is used within the classroom. There are specific reasons for this, and it relates to how South Africa's public education system has been set up. It has been set up as a decentralized system, giving certain roles to the state, both national and provincial education departments, to parents, to teachers, and learners. So I just quickly note there, the state develops the learning outcomes. They must determine, so if the child was to pass the grade, what would be the outcomes that they would need to give a right answer to? The parents are the highest authority in relation to education. This is both the case in international law, but also follows on the white paper on education. the 1995 white paper, and it has been implemented in that way in the South African Schools Act. We know this because parents have a majority on a school governing body. They are always 50% plus one of the representatives in a school governing body, and so they have the democratic power within the school environment. Teachers may use content or learning material that they choose in order to achieve the learning outcomes set by the state. And learners, obviously, they're the recipients or the beneficiaries, and as they progress in age, they can actually take part in education, of peers and their own education. So this is where I just refer quickly to the state's role. Section 6, capital A of the South African Schools Act deals with curriculum and assessment, and it's very clear the minister must determine national curriculum statement, indicating the minimum outcomes and standards. And then also the assessment procedure to measure achievement. Parents, this is from the white paper, but actually it does follow international law as well. Parents have the inalienable right to choose the form of education which is best for their children, particularly in the early years of schooling, whether provided by the state or not, subject to reasonable safeguards which may be required by law. Parents' right to choose includes choice of the language, cultural or religious foundation of the child's education. All right, so I think that's important because as we saw in May of this year, this is a letter that was issued by the Department of Basic Education to their consultative forum. They have certain parts of the industry that sits in a forum with them. So they issued this letter on the 25th of May this year, where they just again sensitized everyone about comprehensive sexuality education and what they bring to the table. But then they acknowledged, and this is the sentence I'm going to read, is the usage of the scripted lesson plans is not compulsory and does not prevent educators' prerogative in developing their own lesson plans, provided that these lesson plans meet all the curriculum requirements. So if you can meet the outcomes, and we know that in the case of life orientation, the outcomes are stated very broadly. You have to teach a topic on bullying, for example. So anyone can, have a teaching on bullying. They can use completely different foundations to that teaching. But this is how we know that there is scope and room for alternative and values-based learning programs. The third thing, 3 of 3, that I just wanted to speak about is strategy. So Johannes spoken to us, what happens in his school. But really when it comes to solutions, I've got 7 points here that I'm just going to run through. This information is readily available, so you will also be able to engage with it afterwards. But number 1, parents have the responsibility to teach their children about sex and sexuality. If this is not happening, then there's a big problem. Then we cannot expect the state to take a back seat because we're giving them the license. We're saying we're giving you a gap to bring whatever your content is about sexuality, whatever you want to teach our children about the subject. We're giving you the right, basically. Then, obviously, the development and improvement of alternative life orientation or skills programs. Obviously, we've heard of 4 specific ones today, but there will be more out there. Parents, through their school governing bodies, have a role to engage with the school management teams and say, this is what we'd like. We don't like these materials. It's explicit or it's for whatever reason, some of the reasons we discussed in our panel. We want something different. So you can approach your school with alternatives. Then obviously, very important in this whole chain, if teachers are not taught to train and carry the message of an alternative program. Let's use Nolutandus as an example. If you don't train teachers in how to get the message across, how to teach the curriculum or the program in the classroom, there's a very low likelihood that it will happen. So something has to happen in between to help teachers. I'm a child of 2 teachers. I know what it's like. It's crazy. There's no time to go and sit, okay, now I had this learning plan for last year. Now I'm going to move over to the next one.
there's just no time. So teachers need help, and we've got to help them to the extent that we are able. Where the school does not opt out of CSE, then it's still the prerogative of the parent to remove the child from the classroom. So we've confirmed with the Department of Basic Education that on an ad hoc basis, parents are allowed to request their child's removal. Obviously, it will depend a lot on the individual school, so you will, have easier exits and more difficult exits depending on who is the representative of the department in your school, in your child's school. Then obviously there are certain places in South Africa that have not got the same kind of access to learning programs that some of us do. And we've got a role to play to get these good solutions to those communities. All right. And the last point is what I call carry on as usual. We know that the life orientation curriculum, in other words, the outcomes statement, has not changed. The state has brought certain content, so learning material in the form of scripted lesson plans. They've brought that to the table. But they've not changed the outcomes themselves, which means that if you've been using something since 2000 or whenever, there's no reason for you to change anything. If you find something that works better than what you've got in the classroom now, then sure, that's something to explore. But you are under no compulsion to do something different if what is currently happening in your child's classroom is something that you can agree with. All right. So those are going to be my main messages. I think I've reached the end of what I wanted to say. Liesel, I've gone over your time, but but I'm gonna hand back to Liesel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan.